The Insidious franchise just keeps going further and further when sometimes it's best to just let things rest. This is the 6th film in the franchise, even though the 5th one served as kind of a finale. You can always come back to this world and tell more stories about ghosts, but they brought back the original family from the first 2 films that was supposed to kind of tie all that off, but it made money. So you know what? Let's do more. So now there's some new characters, and they're also dealing with some ghosts, and also Lin Shaye is there. I enjoy this franchise. I remember watching the first one when it came out, and I have enjoyed most of them. They're not among my favorite horror movies, but I think most of them are solid. I think James Wan is a very talented filmmaker. I think he crafted some incredible scares in that first movie in particular. I think he overuses the hell out of the insanely loud sound effects. That kind of hasn't aged as well. I think he evolved as a horror filmmaker over time, but I still enjoy it. My favorite is actually Chapter 3. I think that has some really, really well done scares. Are you a fan of Insidious Chapter 3? Do I have associates in that regard? I've heard some people shit on it, and I don't really understand that at all. If you're an Insidious 3 fan, chime in, rise up. Our time is now. 4 was fine. 5, I have some elements that I like, but it was very unnecessary. Like, we bring the family back to give them a happy ending that they already had in the second one. But I do like these characters. I like this world. I like the Insidious's tone and how it's kind of campy. I enjoy these movies, but there comes a point where you kind of should probably just stop. And 5 was a good spot to do so. Even though that story was not necessary, it at least felt like a wrap-up. You at least had an excuse to make it. You don't even have that this time. It's literally just, let's make more money. I had very little faith in this because I barely saw any marketing at all. I didn't really hear anybody talking about it. It kind of seemed like they were just dumping it out there. But this movie really confirms my thoughts that they should probably just let it go. This is not a terrible movie by any means. It's watchable. I thought it was serviceable. Like, it's another okay Insidious, but man, we've just done this. But before I delve into my negatives, I do want to offer up some positives. First of all, I think the director, Jacob Chase, does a pretty good job here with some of the scares, especially with the build-up. The jump scares themselves are never as interesting, although there was one. There was actually one jump scare early on that genuinely made me jump. It caught me off guard. I liked that one. Sometimes, rarely, they catch me by surprise, and there was one here that did, but generally, it's the build-up. It's the long sequences of looking around corners and not knowing when the thing is going to pop up and exactly what it's going to look like, and he actually does a pretty good job with that in a couple scenes. There was some creative camera work, the way it maneuvered around these areas, and I felt the tension. And when you see some of these images, some of these ghosts, I actually thought they looked fairly creepy, and I was on edge. I was like, oh no, if I'm in that situation, I'm just done. I'm just checking out right there. As soon as I see that, no thank you. And there are some creative scenarios as our main character is in the further and she's experiencing basically just nightmare logic. Like, she enters this small little area and on the inside it's way bigger and she has no way of getting out. And the way that the real world kind of interacts with the further, because our main character not only can travel there like other characters in previous films, but she has the ability to bring things back and forth between the real world and the further. And so, especially when you get into the third act, the way the two realms kind of like have a synergy with each other as they're doing things in the further. There are other characters in the real world who have to do things to make sure they can do what they need to do over there. And the way the two worlds bounce off of each other and you get some creative scenes with that, I liked. The villain felt a little bit fresh. He felt like he had more of an intricate plan than is typical for a movie like this. And there are even some human antagonists, which I thought was an interesting little spin. It's not all about the ghosts. It's more about the connections between what's going on in our realm and in the further. So there were some interesting ideas there with this antagonistic ghost and how he's like a leader. I've actually wondered about that. I've wondered about, like, is there a king of the further or something? Is there like a big super Satan demon that we're gonna work toward one day if you want to really have a big finale for this franchise? And he's not that, but having him be a little different than some of the ghosts we've seen previously is kind of cool. The most effective scene in the movie had nothing to do with anything jumping out at me. This is PG-13 like all the others in the series, so it had nothing to do with blood and gore. And yet, I could barely look at the screen. I was sitting like this the entire time. It was a scene at the dentist, and there's essentially some ghost shit going on with this person's mouth during a dental procedure, and it was fucking gross. I actually didn't appreciate it. I didn't want to see it at all, but you got me. It was effective. It's one of the memorable things about the movie, the fact that I had to just barely look at the screen for a solid minute or two, because that shit was nasty. The acting is solid. You always have Lin Shaye reliably showing up in these movies, so it's cool to see her at least somewhat. And Amelia Eve is our main character. Brandon Perea is her boyfriend, even the little girl who is the main character's daughter. Everybody's doing a pretty good job. I wish Elise had more to do. I saw like an interview with Lin Shaye, and she said her returning for the Insidious sequels is not about the money. It's about finding new layers of the character to explore every time she plays her. Now, Lynn, it's okay. We know that you like the money. That's fine. There's not a new layer to Elise's character in this movie. She doesn't have anything to do except the things that she always does. She's here to give the exposition. It's called The Further. We have to get you back to your physical body. I think you could probably just like copy and paste all of her lines from previous films into this film, and it would do the job for her character. Change some names here and there, but for the most part. And it's cool seeing her in The Further going up to a ghost and just like punching it and being like, I'm Elise, bitch. What are you gonna do about it? But, you know, this is nothing new with her. It's just her doing the same thing she always does. She shows up to kind of be a plot device and a guide for the main character because you have to have her. And so, nice to see her. But also, it's just a sign that we've run out of steam a little bit. She's just still doing the same stuff. The main villain of this movie has a bit more of an intricate plan, and in certain ways felt like more of a direct threat than previous villains in this franchise, which I liked. But I'm also kind of mixed on the entire thing, because the reason the movie is called Out of the Further is because the ghosts are trying to do exactly that. They're trying to get out of the further. But that's what they've been trying to do the whole time in all of the movies. Okay, not technically true. That's not what was happening in the third one. The fourth one, I honestly don't remember what the goal of the ghost was. I just remember he had key fingers. But in general, from the beginning of this franchise, the goal has been for them to get out of the further into the real world. The difference being, it's not literally exactly the same, because our main character can take things back and forth. Main villain Ghost wants to use her to bring himself out into the real world, and then from there continue to use her to go back and forth and like bring all the other ghosts out too for like a ghost apocalypse. The thing is though, that's not actually different enough to be interesting. This is not the Avengers. We don't need world-ending stakes. We just need our main group of characters and personal stakes for them. And so whether it's one ghost or like 1,000, doesn't really make enough of a difference for me to care and for it to feel like you're justified in making this movie. Like, oh, they're trying to bring extra ghosts out of the further this time, guys, so it's different. But is it, though? There are some aspects to it that I like. You know, there are possession movies where you always kind of wonder, okay, if the ghost succeeds and possesses this person, are they just gonna, like, live a normal life? Are they gonna kill people? Even in Insidious 2, when Patrick Wilson is possessed, Parker Crane, you know, it's like, well, what's really the end goal with you here, man? You're falling apart. Your mom is still a pain in your ass. Just doesn't even really seem worth it. But with this guy, he has a more in-depth plan. Even if he gets into the real world, he still has a plan further than that. So there's some interesting elements there, but for the most part, it's like, yeah, this is not actually different enough to justify it. Even the ability to transfer things back and forth between the further, I'm fine with that as an addition to the lore. I think that's okay, but it's still not that different in practice. It's kind of different, but not so much so. And I even think it gets pushed a little too far. By the end of the movie, the things that they're doing with that power are going to cause like a massive news story. That's all I will say, because some weird shit happens with that power to the point where it felt a little out of place for this franchise, actually. There's just not much special here. The characters are fine. The main woman is kind of defined by a traumatic incident from her childhood involving her mother. Seems like there's so many characters like that in horror, aren't there? But that can work. But in this franchise, there's really no mystery left. There's a little bit at the start because we're with a new group of characters and we're not exactly sure what the ghosts are going to do and how they want to get out of the further. Like, there's a little bit there. But as it all unravels and you figure out, okay, it's pretty much the same as the other movies, the answers to whatever mystery there was are not that fascinating. We know the answers to her childhood trauma. Like, we know all the details. We know how it's going to wrap up because we've seen these movies. We know how the lore of this franchise works. There's no question there. So it's like, okay, yeah, ghost incident with mom. Gonna wrap it up by the end the same way they wrap it up in all of these. Specifically, how many of these movies deal with a main character specifically wrapping things up with their ghost mom? Like fucking half of them. And in the fifth one, it was a ghost dad. I realize parent-child shit is kind of like a core theme of Insidious, but shit. There's only so many times we can do it. So she's fine. Her boyfriend is like some normal dude. I don't really think he had a personality. He was just like a guy. It's like, oh, hello, I am nice boyfriend. Nice to meet your daughter. I like you guys. I shall help you with the ghosts now. And it's like, okay, I don't really want anything bad to happen to him in particular, but if it did, I'm not going to cry about it. He's just like a guy. The characters are fine. They're serviceable. Actually, there's one part where Elise, in the further, tells the main character to go meet somebody in the real world. And we go to this tattoo parlor. And the tattoo artist is this woman who knows Elise and has like psychic powers and whatnot. And it was a little jarring at first. I was like, who the hell is this? What? Who are you? I guess you just met Elise as a ghost sometime in the last however many years? Okay, sure, whatever. But I actually kind of felt like I wanted to know that story. I've kind of felt like I wanted to watch the movie of how the tattoo psychic lady befriended Ghost Elise. That seemed like it'd be cooler. I just don't think there's much else here for me to even really say. It's kind of just, we've done this. It's the sixth one. And the more we make, the more it feels like we're kind of straying a little bit from the identity of Insidious, which was pretty campy, and now we're getting to the part where it's taking itself more and more seriously. The first movie actually had quite a few elements that were subversive, even like the whole tagline, it's not the house that's haunted, it's your son. But that's all just worn into the ground by now. I think they literally say that line in this movie, not with Son. She says it about herself, but they say that line in the movie. That moment in the first film where Patrick Wilson is trying to go under, and then he gets up and he's like, oh, it's not working. And he looks around and he sees that, oh, it actually did work. That happens in this movie, beat for beat, the same. Not only is it just another Insidious movie, it's just another ghost movie, which there's a million of those. If you remove Elise or you remove some of the other familiar faces, it's just another ghost movie. And there are other familiar faces. There are ghosts from the previous movies, like Parker Crane and his mom and the key guy, which is like unnecessary fan service. It's not really a bad thing because they're in the movie for such a short period. And if you've got a whole group of ghosts, they may as well be part of that group, I guess. It's not really a detriment. I didn't have a problem with them being there, but they also didn't add anything either. Like, they could have been any ghost. So it just feels like, again, trying to have a little fan service, trying to justify this, like, ooh, we've got ghosts from several of the movies at the same time. It's like, oh, well, okay. So it has always felt like they regretted killing Elise in the first movie. You know, we eventually had to do some prequels, and they always want her to be in there if nobody else. it kind of feels like the prequels were probably the best idea. Like having Elise as either the main or at least a very focal character seems to be the thing that worked out for the best for most of those sequels. And so just moving over to these new characters and just doing new ghost stuff, new, quote unquote, slightly different, sorta, kinda, but not meaningfully different. You just can't keep up with it. What are you gonna make another one? And then there's another group of characters, and there's also ghosts from the further trying to come out, and Elise comes and tells them the exposition too? Are you gonna do it again after this? It just needs to stop. Unless you come up with some kind of wild-ass idea, it's gotta be more inventive than this. This was watchable as an Insidious fan, but I don't see myself watching this one again. I own the first 4. I don't own 5. I might be willing to buy it one day just because it is at least closure on characters that I like, but I can't see myself continuing on to number 6 and watching this again. It just feels so unnecessary, and it's so been there, done that. But what do you guys think? This was all just my opinion. Leave your thoughts down in the comments whether you agree or disagree. If you've gotten tired of this, maybe you got tired of it several movies ago. I don't know. Or if you think they're just really enjoyable and you want them to keep making more. But thank you for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about Insidious. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you want to see more from me. I appreciate it. And I hope to see you next time.